Hello Stings, this is a video regarding the assignment on linear transformations. You were to graph each of the 8 equations on the front of this worksheet on the same set of coordinate axes, using a different color for each line and labeling each line with its equation, and then describe the changes from the parent function. This video will focus on the changes to the parent function. So first off, in A, that is your parent function, f of x equals x. This is the simplest form of a linear function. The slope is 1, the y-intercept is 0. I will go ahead and graph that in the calculator so you can see what that looks like. So here, this line is our parent function. So then let's move over to B. Here we have a change. What changed from the parent function and what is its effect? The y-intercept is still going to be 0, but our slope is now -1. So let's go back and graph that, and that's going to be negative x, and see how that compares to the first graph. So here is our new equation. So what happened to it was that it was reflected. So the line was just reflected. So the change here, because the slope became its opposite, it was a reflection. Or we can just use the word reflection. For C, this is h of x equals 3x. So again, I'm going to go in here. This is our third example. Here we have 3x. We graph it. And notice what happens here. There's no change to the y-intercept, but slope is now 3, and the effect here is that from the first line that we did, here is our parent function. How do we compare this one to this one? Here's our parent function. This new one, h of x equals 3x, is steeper. So the effect here with the change in the slope is it is steeper. For 1/4 x, we'll graph it. And here's this new kind of fuchsia line there. When we compare this blue line, which is our parent function, to this new line here, we see that the new line is less steep. So it has the same y-intercept, but its slope is now 1/4, and the effect then is that it is less steep. So what we see here is that we have 3 possibilities with the slope. The slope, if it's changed from positive to negative, can cause a reflection. If it becomes a fraction less than 1, then it becomes less steep. If it is an integer, then we have steeper. Then we also have this one here where our slope has stayed the same. So this has no change. But our y-intercept is now -7. So when we go back to y equals, and we'll put this one in, it's going to be x subtract 7. We graph that. And remember, we're comparing this line to the blue line. Notice that their slopes are the same, so they are parallel, but the y-intercept has dropped down 7 units. So this one is a translation down 7 units. There was no change to the slope, so we only had one effect, and it just put the whole line down 7 units. Now we have x plus 5. So here's x plus 5. And this one, since the y-intercept has changed, so the slope is no change, so again we should have a parallel line, but the new y-intercept is now 5, so the effect here, we expect it to be similar to what happened on the one where we went down 7, but that was because it was a -7, so hopefully this one will give us a different effect and move it up. And there it goes. So this line here is an orange line. This blue line was our parent function. So this line and this line are parallel, The blue line has just been moved up 5 units. So this is a translation up 5 units. You know it's up because this is positive, plus 5. You know this is down because that's minus 7. Then we have 2 examples where we have a change in the slope and a change in the y-intercept. So you're going to have multiple changes or multiple effects to the graph. So first off, the slope has been changed to a -3, and this has been changed to, the y-intercept has been changed to -7. So given the information we've had before, because of the negative, we expect there to be a reflection. Because of the 3, we expect it to be steeper. And because of the -7, we expect it to be down 7 units. So let's see what our graph tells us. So we go to y equals, and we come down here, and we're going to have -3x minus 7. And when we graph that, we're going to compare this new line to this blue one. Yes, it has been moved down. Yes, it has been reflected because it did have a positive slope. Now it's negative, and it's also a steeper slope. For this one, the slope is now 1/4 because this is something between 0 and 1. We expect it to be less steep than the parent function. Our y-intercept is now 5. So we are not having any reflection because it's still positive, but we do have it being less steep and up, because this is a positive 5, we're going to go up 5 units. So let's graph that. Our last graph here. This is going to be a little tricky because it looks like it's using the same color as the first graph. Okay, so here we go. Here's our original graph. So notice that this one and this one, this second graph here is less steep, it's flatter than the original, and it has been moved up 5 units. So this is the front of the linear transformations page. Your axes should look similar to this, except you'll actually have equations also written on there, but it'll, you can see it can get a little tricky. So here are the answers to this page. Get those back up there for you. Remember to press pause if you should need to. I'll do the back in another video.